ongoing thing for a year, and this is what happens. It'll go in these cycles where it'll really, really ramp up, and then I'll get some antibiotics, a normal round of antibiotics, and they'll knock it back for a while, and then I just ignore the underlying kind of discomfort, and then there'll be a period of time it'll really ramp up again, and this was one of those times. And it was kind of weird because right on the heels I really went through and cleaned our grout in the bathroom, our tile grout, with this bleach stuff. It's a grout cleaner, and just went through, we get a little black mold in our grout areas, and a little bit of an area behind the washer and dryer. And I sometimes wonder if that can do it, or just using that bleach as opposed to the black mold being bad enough, that little bit, it's just hard for me to imagine that little bit really bothering me. Whereas that, that stuff that I use, that bleach stuff, it's not just bleach, there's other stuff in it. I forget the brand name. I wonder if that can set it off, because talk about, respiratory discomfort, but it's hard to imagine how it would get into your ear, but I guess it can, and those kinds of things are sort of weird. So, anyways, just kind of fitting in here for a little bit of operation and a little bit of work. Kevin, I don't know if Scott was actually officially signed out. I'll pass it to you, Scott, real quick, just in case you're still there. W1NB in the group. This is N2VJ.
Yeah, I was just listening out. I heard you come on, so I figured I'd stay in and just say good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. Get over that problem with the ear quick. And, not much else going on here, so just figured I'd say hi. I'll probably be in later on in the week, so maybe catch up with you then. I'll talk to you guys later. W1NB clear.
Very good, Scott. Make sure I'm not doubling. I guess I got it. Yeah, we'll catch up with you later on in the week. You have a fine business day. And, wow, Jamie, hopefully that ear will be clearing up soon. Oh, my gosh. We've all been through enough, just with the chaos at work all the time, and always running far behind with everything. If only we could get caught up, if even only for a couple of days, so that we could feel like we caught our breath. Yup, and I remember the song, Warren. I've got, I can't remember who did it there. Guy from Cleveland. It was pretty big. Drawing a complete blank. I don't want her, you can have her. She's too fat for me. By herself, she's a group. Yes, so I guess you're saying that Arthur Godfrey also did that. In addition to Frank Yankovic, there it is. Things are very slow for me sometimes. It's in there, I just can't retrieve. And I've noticed that that's been happening more and more. So Frank Yankovic, yes, did that, along with the Cafe Polka, which is actually in the Grumpy Old Men movie, is one of the pieces, the Cafe Polka. So pretty interesting, useless trivia there. Well, I unfortunately, or fortunately maybe as the case is, I can't consider myself to be a group. And fortunately in the last week or two, I've managed to lose 5 or 6 pounds, so that's a good thing, and I hope I'm going to lose a bunch more, because I'm feeling very uncomfortable at this point. And so I'm hoping if I can drop about 20 pounds from where I was, at least that would be kind of nice. We'll see what ends up happening. It's an uphill battle to try to drop a pound. As far as weather here, it's around 30 degrees, I think, this morning here in Syracuse. And no rain in the forecast for today. But I think starting tonight we can have some lake effect snow. It's supposed to get up to around 40 here for today. And that big storm, Jamie, as of this morning, that nor'easter is supposed to kind of stay away from us on Friday, as what the weather girl said this morning. So we're supposed to have a little bit of lake effect snow over the course on and off of the next day or two. But the nor'easter is supposed to be east of us, and even though of course, you know, they use the computer models. They're not really meteorologists, they're modelologists. The computer models were even showing that there wasn't supposed to be any substantial snow even in Wyndham, so you may end up dodging the bullet this time. But, you know, I always say they're never going to figure out what the forecast is for Friday until Saturday gets here, and they'll tell us what ended up happening. And that's the only way that they're ever going to come up with a good guess, is the day after it happens. That's when you'll find out what actually ended up happening. Anyways, guys, I'm going to sign out and head on down to the shop. So 7-3 for now. Good catching everybody in here. Scott, Warren, Jamie, and we'll catch everybody later. I guess up to Warren, W1LO, if he's still here. K2XAM, 7-3 for now, guys.
Yeah, okay, I'm still here. The last time I checked, I was here. No, I think you mean Weird Al Yankovic. Maybe his name is Frank. I don't know. Oh, I've been. I used to have more recordings of that of his music. I think one of the ones I know he had trouble with was when he did Yoda to the tune of Lola, and Kinks didn't like it, or whoever did that Lola song originally. But that was pretty funny, and that was back when Star Wars came out. He's been doing that for decades now, and he even made a movie. UHF. And I caught it one day. I actually have seen it. It's kind of a weird movie. But that's right in keeping with his character of what he is. What can I say? As far as I know, what the hell was that? I hear something. Well, I heard something snap. Oh, maybe my coffee's done. That line, I was at, when I was working at the last place for the federal government, someone made a comment, oh, I don't want that. And I said, oh, you can have it. And I said, it's too fat for me. And, people actually thought that was offensive language because I used the words she and fat at the same time. I'm like, that was when I really had an eye-opener and I was in liberal hell up there. It's like, oh, man, everything. No wonder the government doesn't do anything. They're the biggest faceless corporation in this country. And the audio just went away. I don't know how much you missed, but go ahead, Jamie. It is a mic cord. Well, get another one. It's a mic cord or something in the microphone's not grounded. And completing the audio path. Now, go ahead, Jamie. W1LO. Sorry about the dead air, but I wasn't looking at the scope closely enough.
Before Jamie picks it up, so Weird Al Yankovic, I think, was a nephew of Frankie Yankovic, and Frankie Yankovic at one time was like the polka king of Cleveland or some sort of thing like that. So he did a lot of polkas, and the I Don't Want Her, You Can Have Her, and the Cafe Polka, and many others were songs done by Frankie Yankovic. But then Weird Al Yankovic's another guy, and I had that movie UHF, and I think it's pretty funny. There's some cool old broadcast equipment that's in it, amongst other stuff. Billy Barty was in it, and I always like seeing Billy Barty movies. You know, little short guy. So yeah, interesting movie. and such. But yeah, two different guys. Frankie Yankovic has long since passed, and I do have some of the Weird Al Yankovic stuff floating around here somewhere. One of the station owners that I worked for probably 20 years ago, him and his wife were really into Weird Al Yankovic, so I asked his wife at one point of like, hey, when you get some time, can you copy a couple of your CDs and stuff and so forth? And so somewhere around here are some copies of some copies of some copies, I'm sure, of some Weird Al stuff. And so there that is. And I always liked one of his other songs, Like a Surgeon, Cutting for the Very First Time. Anyway, 7-3 guys, K2XAM, out and clear.
Damn it. There we go. Yeah, that show. That explains it. I know he comes from that culture, and that's why his parents insisted that he learn the squeeze box there, the accordion, and he plays it quite well. So he has to hire musicians to do the other stuff, the newer stuff. But he plays, I got a recording of Yoda where someone, he said it was recorded, this was on Dr. Demento, it was recorded in the bathroom or someplace, and somebody was making the melody by squeezing air under their armpit or something. It was weird. Go ahead, Jamie. Hey, you gotta admit, the guy's richer than I am, and you are. W1LO. I gotta go get a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I like Weird Al Yankovic, and I don't know why. Maybe it's just the way he looks or his hair is or something. He reminded me a little of Howard Stern too, in some way. I don't. Maybe it's something about his facial features or something. It reminds me a little of Howard Stern, but not, he doesn't seem to have that same personality. It's just his face, just the way he is or carries himself sort of reminded me of, I don't know, the way Howard Stern kind of was back in the 90s, I guess. Yeah. I don't know why I lost my feel for Howard Stern. I used to really kind of like that back in the back, I don't know, 97, 98, I really thought it was funny, but now it's although since he went to Sirius, I don't listen much anyways, but I just feel it's uncomfortable. I don't know any other way to say it. You just feel like, geez, it seems like there's this mean-spiritedness to it that, maybe it's entertaining and makes money, but, at the expense of what? Your soul in some ways. I don't know. I'm just off on some crazy stream of consciousness, I guess. Yeah, I heard that crack there, Warren. Almost sounds like a coffee pot cracking. Like one of those glass, what you call it? The cravat, whatever they're called there. The thing the glass pot. I heard that. I had one crack. It sounded just like that. I hope that's not what happened to you. Jeez. No, you probably could smell the coffee when it was going. We have a Keurig for, a quick emergency coffee, but we have a regular insulated coffee pot type thing. It's heavy, but it makes you think there's more coffee in it than there really is. And so, 5 o'clock in the morning, the alarm goes off, and good old Shelley, as crappy as she feels when she wakes up in the morning, she gets up, gets that button pushed, and gets the coffee going, gets the house warmed up before I really. But she comes back in, and then I'm raring to go, and that kind of drives her nuts because she just wants to kind of chill for a minute, and once that sort of smell of the coffee starts permeating the house, zing, it's like Pavlov's dog. I'm ready for that cup, and let's get started. Right? Poor Shelley. I don't know how she puts up with me in the mornings. I know I drive her nuts. I can see it in her face. Right? I think she was kind of grateful I wasn't feeling good. The past, at least towards the weekend, I started not feeling good after doing the bathroom and stuff. So I was slower, and I wasn't kind of waking up with a whistle and funny comments and stuff. And she just, I could tell it drives her nuts. And in fact, I think the only other person in the household that wakes up like that is Leah. She's a pretty happy kid. Well, she's not a kid anymore. She's 23, I think, 22. And so with the two of us going, and then, we kind of gang up on Michelle. We're chattering away in the morning, and Michelle just wants us to just shut up and let me think. Anyways, she's a good egg, so she's can stress me out sometimes with some of the stuff, but for the most part, she's a good girl, and she does her best to keep it all going, no matter how crappy she feels, right? She went to the pulmonologist. Pulmonologist? No, that's not right. Lung doctor. I guess, yeah, pulmonologist. And they're going to keep her on the steroids because it hasn't advanced, which is good. She's got the lower sections of her lungs are pretty much useless now, maybe the lower third of each lung. And it hasn't advanced. She's been on long-term steroids, corticosteroids like prednisone, and antibiotic. And, we've been through this now for 3 years. And every time they take her off that, they always want to take her off the antibiotic, and I can understand why. But every time they do, bam, she starts losing the weight, and she starts getting sicker and sicker. The fevers start coming back, and so this time we finally, convinced the doctor, look, I mean, how many times are we going to do this? And every time you do this, the destruction of her lungs advances, and every time you take her off. So I know we're kind of marching in place here, but it's not getting worse, at least now, since you've kept her on this. The only thing I wish they would do is change antibiotics. Go from the macrolides to like a doxycycline, and then after a while on a doxycycline, go to like a sulfate of some kind. Just kind of rotate through, because we did that ourselves. I'm not supposed to tell anybody, but we did that. We had some extra different antibiotics. When we rotated her through, oh my God, Michelle, the old Michelle came back. All of a sudden, she was only having maybe one attack a day, one real bad one in the morning. And she was just full of energy. She was putting on weight again. And we tried, to come to the doctor with and said, look, when we rotate her through antibiotics, every maybe 10 days to a different one, she really comes back. Well, they didn't want to hear that, and they were actually angry that how dare we, self-medicate her, but, I'm trying to get them to think outside the box here. Instead of following the Merck manual, right, let's try some different things here. Let's try an antiparasitic, too. Let's try an antiparasitic and antiviral. But they don't want to hear it. So I've taken it upon myself to get some stuff for her. Unfortunately, you can still do that. It's getting harder and harder with the quote-unquote medical community lockdown. And, even doctors now who have differing opinions on a treatment regimen for anything, not just COVID, but for anything, are really getting... hammered, censored, threatened. It's just, well, in fact, this happened to her infectious disease doctor, who was really successfully treating some COVID patients with antivirals, and antiparasitics. So he got in pretty big trouble. I don't know what his status is now because she stopped. I had to stop seeing him because she doesn't have what's considered an infectious disease. She's more, at least they don't think it is. It's not infecting anybody. So it got to the point where, he had to, with the COVID uptake, he had to focus on that rather than help her, which he was a great help to her because it was his idea to rotate through the antibiotics instead of just staying on a macrolide. One style of macrolide just because the book says so. Okay, boy, I just went off on the deep end here. I'm sorry, Warren. You're probably sick of that. W1LO, Kevin, I'll see you when you get here. W1LO, this is N2VJ.
Yeah, I you will do what we tell you to do. If you don't do what we tell you to do,
well, you gotta admit, I know there's a lot on your mind.
I don't mind that. I get it. And I have no use for the medical profession. They're like Kevin called the meteorologist, modelologist. And all doctors do now is, these are the symptoms. They get on the computer and, I think it's this. They just go online, and I'm not impressed with my own PCT. I know I'm overweight. I'm not an idiot. And I gotta lose weight. And it's not. It's easier said than done. But that's all he hops about. Anyway. Well, actually, I don't, because I'm not going through that, but I can understand your concern for her. Well, as long as the attitude remains good, that's the best part. And I just realized, sitting here and I'm going, you said, you probably could smell the coffee, and I'm thinking, yeah, I can a little bit. I'm going, isn't losing your sense of smell one of those things that you get the plague? So I went out to the kitchen and grabbed a few food items, and when I stuck my nose in the coffee pot, the carafe, it did not break, by the way. I could smell it, and I'm like, okay, that's a good sign. But my nose is kind of right now. And the coffee tastes good, but then 90% of your tasting is really smelling. It's really weird how the olfactory and the taste buds work together to give you the sensation of, this is good. But, yeah, that's like any antibiotic. They always ask me, what are you allergic to? I don't know, nothing. I never had a reaction to anything. They always ask you that. But I do know amoxicillin is my drug of choice when I had the ear infection. And a wicked bad sore throat once. They go right for the amoxicillin and it clears up. And you keep taking it to make sure this is on, and that worked on me. But I haven't got sick in quite a while. Which I probably just cursed myself saying that. But, anyway. Enough of that. No, I don't know what that noise was. Wow, you could hear it. That makes sense because I had the gain way up at the time and I was way back from the microphone. That's what makes it weird. If I crank the gain up on the 286, all of a sudden the audio snaps back in. Some bridge is gapped, and then I turn it back down and it's okay for a while. And if I just stay away from the microphone, if it's overdriving the thing, it's okay, but I've located it down. Like I said, I need about maybe a 5-foot mic cord, 2 XLR plugs, or the ground in the C1 microphone. So that's the skinny on that. And I'll let you run. I got to get going. I got to do a lot of laundry this morning, and I'm not looking forward to it. And I'm not cooking breakfast here. I figured, I haven't eaten out in a long time, so there's two good breakfast places I go by on the way to the laundromat. Not to meet someone. I can't say I met her at the laundromat, but it's open. It opens at 7:30, so I want to get down there early before the place gets crowded. You can hear my beak is pretty stuffed. I guess that's why blacks call us honkies. We don't have good sinus cavities for that very white kind of sounding voice. Very few of us do. At least that's what I theorize. No one ever told me that. Anyway, back to you, Jamie. I'm probably going to get out on this one. And head out the door. Where it's not snowing and it's overcast, but it's about freezing. I looked out at the, which I've never been able to see since I can now that I've had my eyeballs down there. The big red pointer on the shed is pointing straight up, which means it's about 32 degrees. Which after yesterday is really warm, because yesterday it was freaking cold. Not just cold, it was freaking cold. Into VJ. Have fun sliding down the hill to work. And I wish Michelle and all that. I know you're worried about him, and hopefully she'll get better and things will turn normal. It's scary. It really is. Enter VJ W1KELO.
Okay, Warren. It's good hearing you, buddy. And be careful out there, and no matter what COVID is, or whether or not it affect you. I mean, look, let's be frank. We've got two friends that they're heavier guys, and that's the thing too. Again, I know I say this all the time. I think we spend too much time. Pissing and moaning about somebody being a big person as if somebody being a small person, and somehow being a small person is better than being a big person. I don't see. I mean, some people are born big, some people are born small, right? That's some people have brown eyes, some people have blue eyes. It's just a genetic happenstance that some people are just bigger guys. It's part of the diversity of humanity. Anyways, that being said, it seems like the people that are bigger guys that get COVID, it hits them harder for whatever reason. I don't know the whole details as to why. So, just take it easy, buddy. You don't smoke or anything like that, so that's a benefit too. But now there's some insane things. I was looking at the thing by NIH on NCBI. NCBI is sort of like a collective website that NIH posts white papers on. That something about the nicotine. People who smoke is preventing COVID from really firing up the whole T cell thing in the lungs. So that initial, massive the first order immune response isn't killing the lung tissue. Because that's basically what the T cells do. They're just basically laser blasters that go in and blast the tissue that contains the cell before your body's second layer, IFS layer of immune system, has a chance to kick in. So, hey, maybe you should start smoking. I don't know. It was a white paper that came out a month or two ago when I was reading it. All right, Warren, you take care, buddy. I'll see you later. W1LO, this is Into VJ.
Yeah, good enough. I hear slop buckets that fired up right next to us. Now, you can't tell me at least one of those guys doesn't hear us, but then again, whatever. No, I'm not starting smoking again. I couldn't afford it. My God, I'd have to be driving down to... I'd be doing butt running. Going down to the Carolinas to get them cheap and driving home with the back of my truck full of them. Man, kid, I couldn't afford them. And I see these kids hanging around smoking. I'm like, they are brain dead. They really are. They're pissing away money. You figure if they're heavy smokers like I was, they're probably not yet, but I smoked a pack a day. You figure a pack a day. You do the math at what they cost now. That's a friggin' car payment, man. It's ridiculous. And, no, I'm overweight. If you go back in the history of just this country, people weren't that big. We are a very fat nation because we're affluent. We sit down a lot. And because we're affluent, we don't have to work a lot like we did in the past. And by medical standards, I'm obese. I should be down where I was almost all my life, down around 200 or 195. And that's where I should be. That's a stark reality because this all happened because I started sitting down a lot. And there was a lot of stress eating after certain things I won't get into. Yeah, that's a factor, and I know it. I'm not proud of it, but maybe I'll go to the gym today. Because what I do now, especially on the treadmill, with the incline treadmill, you can crank it up so it's like you're walking uphill really hard. what used to get my heart rate up around almost hitting 140, a couple times it did. And I'm like, okay, that's probably putting a strain on it. I better slow down. But what I used to do that did that, now I'm lucky if it breaks me into the high teens or low 20s for 120 or 100 and something for my heart rate. When it used to be huffing and puffing and I was almost dying, it's relatively easy now. And now that, like I changed the chainsaw, I finally got a new chainsaw chain for my battery-powered chainsaw. So I went out and cut down a bunch of stuff I've been meaning to get rid of. One of them was a tree that when it's windy out, my feed line gets tangled up in more than once. So I got rid of the obstacle. Just getting out and getting active, I just don't eat as much. Like, I'm not hungry right now. So that's part of it. I just don't do anything. And I hate winter because I tend to hibernate, but I've done winter hiking in the past, but that's when I lived up north. Now I got to waste, $20, $30 in gas to even get to the trailhead, let alone go walk anywhere. So there's not a whole lot of incentive there. Although there's plenty of places I could hike around here. But I've done them all, and it gets boring going up the same trails and the same mountains. Kind of like the treadmill. Oh. But I got to lose weight, because I figure if I don't, my father was overweight because he didn't do anything. When he became legally blind, he couldn't do much of anything. I mean, his eyes were both gray. They were probably cataracts, but they probably had some procedures back in the 60s or 70s, but we couldn't afford it. And then I think about what I just had done, and it's like, man, that probably would have made a whole difference in life to him. But he only made it to 59. And my mother made it, she was in her 101st year when she finally died. So it's all a crapshoot. It really is. And I look at it this way. We all got one lifetime to get our crap together. And that's the way it is. Nobody lives forever. It's an unfortunate reality. Anyway, I'm going to get out of after this old buzzing window. I'm looking out the window. My eyes feel great. Put the lubrication drops in. Oh, they feel great. So I'm going to drive, and I still enjoy just driving with no glasses. It's so cool. I can look to the left without having glass frames in the way, and everything gets fuzzy if I'm looking not through the lens, and no distortion from the curvature of the lens. It's awesome. I still haven't got over the initial reaction of surgery, and Tim's going through it this week. It'll be interesting to see what he sees and how he sees and stuff. He's going through cataract surgery this week. So that'll be interesting to see how his turns out. Come to find out, I've had it. K1 ETPs had both eyes done, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people that have too. I didn't know Rich had. Anyway, I'm buzzardizing. It's 8 o'clock. You gotta go to work, and I gotta go to the laundromat. N2VJ, take care, Jamie. Talk to you guys later. W1LO, over.
Okay. Warren, I'll see you later, buddy. You have a good day. And I'll probably talk to you tomorrow. W1LO, this is N2VJ.
We wouldn't eat that combination. I had a little different breakfast this morning. I had some Ralston with raisins. I bought my Ralston at the Vermont Country Store. You can buy it other places, but I've been buying it there. And so I bought my seasonal supply of that here back in December. And Dave, the D368 sounds good, and it looked like it was pretty close to frequency there, and AMF, American Machine and Foundry, I think. You know, it's interesting. I know that during World War II, there were several manufacturing companies that didn't make the stuff that they made during the war. In some cases, it's like they shifted gears and went the opposite way. So it just amazes me how a manufacturing industry can tool up and change things and somehow come along with the engineering expertise, that needs to monitor the process as well. So AMF, let's see, they made bowling pins. For a while, they made Harley-Davidson motorcycles and about ran the company into the ground with their lack of quality control. And then Harley-Davidson, I think that was about the time that maybe Harley, the employees bought them. I'm not sure if I got that history in the right context, but I know that eventually it became employee-owned. But yep, it's interesting that you got that AMF-built T368. And fine on your comments of the R390, and that's been my conjecture. And you might have deterioration of those filters. I don't know if you've ever heard or talked to Todd, KA1KAQ. I talked to him when he was over in Vermont, but he's down in North Carolina now, South Carolina. He's been down there for several years, but he talked about how the filters mechanical filters would change their bandpass characteristics, and he was curious about it, and he very carefully did surgery to dissect one of the filters, and inside they had like this sponge foam in there to act as a mechanical insulator or damper, whatever you want to call it, and it had deteriorated into like a goo. And the glue was coming down on the mechanical filter, and of course it changed the resonance frequency of the disc. I have when I bought the 75A4 here, it came with two of the three filters in the radio were R390s that had been mounted on a plug-in adapter that they had available for those. And my filter, which was I think it was an 8 kilohertz light filter, it was very lopsided, and that's why I ended up buying those Curry filters. And I bought 3 of those finally. But yep, the old filters are probably shifting. Dave VO, the DX60 sounds good. I'm not sure what you're using for frequency control. You're probably at least a DC high, but well modulated, filling out the full pattern here well. Don, during your transmission, I could hear you in there, but at that time I was hearing little voices from the south on Sidedan, and I was getting the buckshot from Jamie down the band. So, unfortunately, I did not get a lot. Your signal strength is pretty good, but the interference was strong here too. Just at that time. Maybe that'll change as the band shortens up and maybe Jamie goes to work. K2J, and good morning to you, Craig and Bill. K2J, WBTJG.
Yes, good morning all the way around, everybody. KE2J. Well, thanks for the comments on the T368. Yeah, it's a good, solid transmitter, to say the least. You know, Jim, I can't be sure that it's all AMF. When they were in the Army depot, they would work on them and swap out different parts and things, and maybe even drawers. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Same with the Collins R390A here. There might be Stuart Warner modules in there as they go through things. I imagine they had a regimented, maintenance policy where they would check things out, make sure everything was up to snuff. Who knows? But that's what the tags say on the outside. It's a nice-looking R390A too. It's pretty good shape when you look at the front panel. Sometimes they aren't the best. So. And I never did paint the T368, so I did the top section where the service selector is and everything else here in the PTO. That's I rubbed that off, the paint that the depot had repainted. But you can really make them look good if you want. But the whole thing weighs about 750 pounds. So there's a lot of transmitter here. My father-in-law came to see it years ago, and he thought that it was designed to take a few bullets and still survive. And it is a heavy thing. And they had it in the back of those special trucks. Can't tell you the numbers of it now. I do, I have talked to Todd, but it's been years, KA1KQ, when he was up here. He had promised me one of those Chinese finger things that you can pull tubes out with. And that never happened. But I always remember he said, I'll get you one of those. He never followed up on it. But Don, fine on forgetting about Monday being a holiday for you. But you know, when you're retired, it gets difficult to keep track of the days. If it wasn't for babysitting on Tuesday and Thursday, and wasn't for church on Sunday, it would get kind of confusing around here. So no problem with that. And meat on the cereals. Jim, you wouldn't want, you should have stopped even before the, beyond the walnuts there. You should have stopped when he said fruitcake, because when he mashed up that fruitcake for his oatmeal, by the way, that sounded good. The fruitcake has nuts in it as well, usually, I believe. So we'd do you in a hurry with that concoction, but I would eat it. And I don't know, I'm one of the few family members here. I can't think of anybody else in my whole family that likes fruitcake, but I like it. I don't know why. And Dave VO, the DX60 and the SB200 combination is great. Glad you got that up and running. Don't be afraid to run it. And Bill, fine on the temperature. You got, I think you said 24 to 26, Bill. I'm at 33.5 here. And I chatted on 2 meters with Pete, WB2CGF, and he told me that there's a storm coming our way, maybe tomorrow. So he's going to do his grocery shopping today. I don't know if you're in on that. And Craig, who knows what's going to happen down south where you are. But I am anxious to hear your T60 when you get that up and running and put that with the SB200. Like Bill was telling me the other day, a little bit of work on the audio on that thing if you needed to. If it's not sounding right, it's probably very similar to what people are doing. Very simple, very, very simple mods to the DX60 and so forth. Probably very similar. So there you go. I'll keep it rolling. But, boy, I tell you, I just puffed up like a peacock, Craig, when you said I sound like a broadcast transmitter. I never heard that before on my T368. I thought it was kind of, I'm guessing from what I've heard, it's a little tinny sounding, but they can be made to sound that way. I just didn't do it. But that's good to know. I know Mike, NADCR, used to love the sound of it. He said it gave me a happy voice, is what he said. And I never forgot that. I really miss Mike, NADCR. He was a good friend on amateur radio, and we went up to Hammond Museum. We met up there and had a good time, and good time. But he's gone too early. So, DE3 LYX up there in Canada, way across the lake. And if it freezes someday, Don, I expect you to take a trip over here. Because if it ever freezes over, it's just not too far of a ride. Get on your snowmobile and take off of that cliff, and you'll be here before you know it. DE3 LYX KA2J.
I gotta flick like 3 switches, so that's good when you count 3 there. And Jim, I am on a crystal, and my 3.72071. 3.72071. That's what my Ramsey, 30-year-old Ramsey Electronics frequency counter says, which I wouldn't put a lot of stock in that, but I do not have a VFO. I got a VFO, but I don't know if it'll match. Looks the same as this DX60, but I'm not sure it's the right one. And I guess, Don, you mentioned going out on the ice. I went to college up at Oswego, and they really harped on it too, but they said if you're caught out on the ice, if anybody's caught out going out on the ice, and you're apprehended by the campus security, you're going home, and it was that simple. And so we never went on the ice. I'm scared to death of it anyway. We used to go up alongside the lake and pick up chunks of ice and then bring them in and put them in the bathtub to keep our beer keg cold. But on the weekends, we never went on the ice. And AMF, they also made skedaddler snowmobiles. And skedaddlers, we had one when we were kids. It was 15 horsepower snowmobile. It was kind of a nice looking sled, but it was kind of a dud. It wasn't very reliable. It was all right for us kids at the time, though. And the Yaesu. Apparently, my Yaesu FTDX10 or whatever it is there. Apparently, it's on its way back. I got an invoice, and of course, it was repaired for nothing. And they did some big work on it. They replaced the display, and then they replaced some driver for the display. I'm assuming that's what it was. I think I turned that in on the 10th of November, and they've had it ever since. So I think they must be repairing a ton of those things. So anyway, go ahead there, Bill. KB3WL N2VO.
Okay, Bill. KB3WL, WA3ZDI. Yeah, I've been watching the forecast, and they're here tomorrow night into Friday morning. 3 to 6 inches of snow coming through here tomorrow night sometime into Friday morning. So, yeah, I think I got to get my plow mounted on my ATV here today or tomorrow. So that's definitely on the agenda because it does look like we will be getting some weather here during that time frame. And I did take my model train engine down to the train repair guy yesterday. Finally got a hold of him, and boy, what a place! He looks like one of those hoarders, but all model train parts piled up to the ceiling in his garage, and you had to walk sideways to get through the aisles. So it was quite a place for model train parts and pieces, that was for sure. So that was kind of an interesting trip. And yeah, Dave, VO and the FTDX10, they must be, I see a lot of them for sale on QTH.com. There's just seems to be an awful lot of them for sale. So I suspect it's guys that had problems that are just getting rid of them. So something going on there for sure. N9 PBF WA3ZDI.
Okay, that's a little space for John in here. WA3ZDI, N9 PBF in the group. Well, the FTDX in Portland is WCAW's has been with them for 3 months. After years, little bit, and we reboot it and go away, and then we come back with a different problem. So that's really frustrating, and anyone who's ever had to experience that stuff knows it's kind of interesting. So I'll have to try to fool with that and get it down. But so far, it's been okay. So far, I think I would rather get the Icon 7300, but I haven't found one. My junk point is about $500. I found one of those. So, I'll just wait another year and they'll be there. And the only reason I buy it is to get the Win4 Icon filter, which allows you to have a very sophisticated audio spectrum analyzer on the receive signal. Not that I want to tell everybody, your equalizer is off at 400 hertz, but it does make it a little more fun, and I think it gives you a much better band scope than I get from a web SDR, but I'm not sure. I actually haven't looked at PKIs in any detail, but that was on his Yinsu. My own personal experience is Yinsu ships a lot of stuff that has a lot of factory faults. I remember when they had their mobile rig and all sorts of problems with it. Anyway, so winter of 77, was private in Cleveland, and I had a buddy, so we decided to get on the ice and started walking, and we must have walked at least 3 or 4 miles when I was out there. And I had my Arctic cold weather gear on. After about an hour or so, the showing signs of frostbite. So we turned around and came back. They had mountains of ice, huge stuff, 30, 40 feet high, right out in the middle of the ice. And I think I heard the ice was about 7 feet thick, so I wasn't going to worry about finding a warm spot and necessarily putting through. But tools to get yourself out of there. Nails driven into essentially wooden dowels on strings hanging over your neck. That way you can pull yourself out of the water in the first 30 seconds when you go in, because if you don't do it by then, cold water will zap your strength. Right, Jim? Yeah.
2003. N9PBS from the group, WB2JG. Well, that ice was thick enough that maybe even I would walk on it. 7 feet over snow. And boy, I remember the blizzard of 77 that came in and hit Buffalo and western New York area. Well, it came all across. But I remember that event. I remember I was out in Buffalo at the time. And my coworker said, "Hey, I think if I were you, I would get on the thruway and start heading east and get out of here. It's coming." And, that was the blizzard. That was the year it was very cold. Lake Erie was, I think, all but totally frozen over, and there was a lot of snow on the ice. And the winds came along and lifted that snow off of the ice and dumped it on Buffalo. I didn't see Buffalo. I think it was about 3.5 weeks before I finally went back there because they had exits closed on the thruway. You couldn't get off. There was, for a while there was only snowmobiles moving around the city. Wow! And of course we had good amounts of cold weather and snow out this way too. But wow, that was something. I remember I didn't get out of the whiteout condition, even though I left at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I didn't get out of the whiteout condition until practically I got past Batavia and I was heading towards Leland, and then finally from there on it was sailing. At any rate, so much for that. Dave, I want to tell you that the T368 sounds good, but I'm not going to give you any compliments that you sound like a broadcaster, because then you'll probably want to join the group down the van. Which, by the way, they appeared to have wrapped up early. So there's no activity down there now. So, Don, we did well with you on that last transmission. And, Bill, you were talking about the weather that's going to be coming in, too. Yeah, we got some snow heading in later this week, but as I said, by Monday, Tuesday time frame, it's going to be like a deep freeze here. A couple of days there, lows between 0 and -2. So we're going to have to kind of condition ourselves. I'm going to have to condition myself to spend a little more time outside. Otherwise, I won't even want to leave the house. Holy smoke! And yeah, it's interesting what some companies can take on and tool up for. I think about it was before my time, but back during World War II, GM, of course, all the automakers stopped making cars, and GM started making tanks. And then you start thinking about it. Well, the cars they made before the war were kind of like tanks, and the cars they made after the war were kind of like tanks. So I guess it was right up their alley. Some of the other companies that got into the civil airplanes and all that kind of stuff. Amazing history. And when you watch the History Channel, you learn about a lot of stuff that you were kind of asleep at when you were in school. Oh well, so much for that. Van seems to be in pretty good shape today, and let's see, I was counting on something else here about the tank condition. Yeah, this morning when I checked, 40 meters has all been leaked. So day to day, sometimes I can check WWV and 5 megahertz is the highest frequency I can hear, and other mornings 10 or even 15 megahertz you can hear at 6:30 and 7. And when you hear it that early, you know it's going to be good on the upper band. Today I got a feeling it's going to be a synchro propagation. Yeah, I haven't heard Todd on in a long time, and so I kind of wonder if he's still as active there in KWM as he was. Oh yeah, and on the FCD GX10, it's like anything, in production, from time to time there's some mortality, some component or something. Dave may recall before he got his 7610 was the problem with displays on the 7610 failing. I guess they were like fading away. It was a vendor issue, and I guess I finally got that. The 7300 has got the best track record of that cylinder, I think. And I think you're going to be waiting a lot longer for a $500 7300. I think the average price for a group right now is around $800. KETJ on the group, WB2JG.
Okay, very good, Jim. KA2J, good copy all the way around. And as far as tooling up, you know, at the start of the pandemic there, they didn't have enough of those respirators, and I don't know what act it was, the War Powers Act or something. They had, they could go to a company and tell them, you're going to have to make these things. And they did that for the respirators, and then there was some volunteer work too, but they had to really get things moving fast. And same with masks. They had to gear up for masks, and people started making their own masks and moving them out. So lots of stuff. You know, and some of the reality here is hitting. You know, the Omicron is so prolific with their spreading of it so easily to spread. The little proteins on the end of it are so good at attaching to people that it gets through easily. But now the truth comes out that these cloth masks, other than stopping some of your spit particles, it's like shooting a BB through a chain link fence. You know, they don't do a lot unless you got some serious mask material there. So the little cloth things that are one piece of cloth thick aren't the best, but it's better than nothing. So yeah, they did do that, and I agree, Jim. I was thinking when you said that, David, about the 7300. You know, life's short. If you really want a nice rig like that, what a good price, and that thing is rock solid. There's so many of them out there, and they're working so well, and they sound so good that I was almost thinking of buying one for camp or something, but it's good enough what I had for me, and I could talk myself out of it. But it's a nice radio, and I think it sounds better on AM than probably my 7610. But I don't care. I decided anymore that everybody I've talked to has said it's nice and clear and crisp and good enough. So there you go. Let's see. Yep, Dave. Theo, I bet you when you get that back, after it's gone through the factory, they probably did all the right stuff to it. It'll probably be a rock-solid radio when you get it back. So it'll probably be a keeper. Let's hope. And I was excited when you talked about the model train repair place there, Craig. That's amazing. You know, people like that, they won't be around much longer. You know, once they're gone, I don't know, that stuff, Lord knows what'll happen to it. But, you know, you got somebody like that. I know what you're talking about. I've seen places like that where, you know, you can hardly fit through it. They have so much stuff they've collected. My brother-in-law, who was in the lawnmower business, could not throw something out. And he had parts and pieces in case he had to repair this or that or put together this or that. And his dad started it, actually. He inherited it from his dad, and he was running the business for a while. But, boy, when they sold that and you looked out back where they had all kinds of chassis and things just sitting out in the back down the hill there, out in the open, too. But you couldn't throw away anything, and he had more parts and pieces, and so he sold the business, and he ended up finding a place to store a lot of the stuff, because you just can't get rid of it. Some things you can't get anymore, you know, and there's places like that. There's a place here in Rochester, Wilcox, Buick or whatever. My son got that 72 Buick, and so I took a ride over there to find him. He didn't have the jack he needed and a couple other things, and picked him up a carburetor, which I'm not sure he's using that, but they had everywhere you looked, there were parts and pieces of GM stuff all stored, and it's kind of cool when you see that. You know, Todd, Jim, he used to be very active on the amphone.net, and I used to, when I was at work, I used to read that quite often, and I just kind of quit doing it, but he was very active on that. I wonder if he's still there. What else? I'm looking through my list here. I like to pace around the room, so I don't write everything down. But those are my comments. So VE3, LYX, I don't blame you for staying off the ice. It is a little scary, but David was talking about Lake Erie, and that's a shallow lake. That used to freeze over many times. Oh, I remember that storm of 77 very well, Tim. We were new to our house here, and it was quite a storm, and my daughter was born, and oh my word, what a mess that was. But anyways, the Lake Erie will freeze over, but I don't know when the last time Lake Ontario froze over. Much deeper lake, and gets kind of violent out there. So, Don, can you ever remember actually all freezing over? I know they talked about one end of it, doing it a few years ago, but boy, the whole lake, that would be amazing. VE3LYX, KA2J.
That